What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Dynasty Trade Show. Hope you guys had a great semifinal week. I know I did. Hopefully, Adam, you had a good one too. Wasn't too bad. Had some great games.
Had a great one, man. I got one team left, man. One team left.
Down to one, huh?
Yeah, and then there was one. Yeah, I got.
And who are you playing with that one team?
I believe it's Iowa Michael.
So it's on me, man.
It's on
if
you.
You don't win a championship this year, it's all my fault.
No, it would not be all your fault. Now, if you beat me in that league, I won't even be mad, honestly. To tell you the truth, I know that sounds shitty, but I won't be mad because all it would do is prove my point. I was looking through 600 points more than any other team in that league was what my team scored and shit. All the leagues that I'm in, I've not seen a disparity that big. So if that team loses, it was just, I'm cursed, man. Not surprised, you know.
Cursed. Your wife put some voodoo on it. She was like, ah.
I don't know what happened, but yeah, I got two of the teams, especially. It was like actually put up monster weeks, but lost. And I mean, it was fun. I'll say this last week because there was. I mean, how many guys just went off? It felt like as a whole, it was a crazy fantasy scoring week for just players in general. It was nuts. You normally don't get, all the great weather that we did too this late in the year. It was fun to watch, man.
Yeah, it was nuts around here as far as weather, celebrating Christmas. And I ran to the gas station on Christmas wearing T-shirt, flip-flops, and shorts.
Oh, yeah. I just before this, I was, pulled up to the gas station, hopped out. It's about a cool 60, 59, 60 degrees on the 26th. It's wild.
All right, buddy. Well, let's do what we got to do. We're here to look at semifinal Dynasty trades that went down within the last week. And let's discuss them.
40 chess. Yeah. 40 chess. 40 chess. Let's get it.
Yo, is that T-Dog?
40 chess. 40 chess. Hey. 40 chess. This a trade show. Patreon where the trades go. Tap in and watch. That's what you came for. Ain't gotta say my name. They know my name, bro.
What's good, man?
We got McNutted and ATM. Always start off the show with a trade from them. You should always make sure that your trade is in. Patreon, why not be a Patreon? Know you wish you could spend every day with them. Tap in and say what you gon' say with them. South Harmon can fill up a stadium. Next time you log in, make sure that you bring a friend. We about to kick off, let the day begin. Go follow the socials. 40 Chess FF is posted. If your trade is an F, you get roasted. Go like and subscribe for the crew. Apple, Spotify, and the YouTube. You know Cooper got the warp too. Let us give you a walkthrough. 40 Chess. This is 40 Chess.
Good process, bad process, and I guess we'll find out on some of these deals if it was worth it.
There you go. Was the juice worth the squeeze? If you want your deal featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. Get you an opportunity to get in our Discord. Put your trade in the completed trades for Shitheads channel. All kinds of other good stuff in our Discord. But let's get into it, Mike. We're going to start off with one of mine. And, Mike, here's the thing. This deal here, when you talk about hot off the presses, about as hot as it gets. This happened right before the 8:15 game versus the Baltimore Ravens, which consequently, Mike's rocking the hat. RIP. A lot of Brock Purdy stuff out there. We don't have to get into that too much unless we get a trade on him. But right before that, T-Rock is trying to find a way to win his matchup still, right? And Ayuk is sitting on my team, and he sent me a bunch of offers. So here's what we settled on. This is in shit auction 3, Mike. So I receive Tua Tagovailoa, Nico Collins, and Devon Achane, and I send away Baker Mayfield and Brandon Ayuk. Now, obviously, the thing about this one is all the points for every other player is going to be locked in to the team that they already were played on for the week, right? So
except for Ayuk.
Except for Ayuk, because he had not played. Exactly right. So that's the crux of the deal. We can get into the specifics and what happened in his matchup, but just on the surface, what are you looking at? What do you think?
I respect it from T-Rock. I respect it. Dynasty value is all going to be on your side, right? Tua over Baker by quite a bit for me, maybe not as much for some other people. I mean, that's a pretty easy layup. We're going to be having Tua Tagovailoa MVP discussions here, after this week's events of games, and you're going to have a nice matchup here between, two potential MVP candidates and Tua and Lamar. So Tua over Baker. If you're telling me in a best ball league, I like Ayuk versus Nico Collins straight up. But if you were telling me the plus is a Devon Achane, it's pretty easy. I'll take Nico and Achane in a best ball league, Adam. Lineup league, I don't know. Maybe you can make the case that you'd rather have the one piece in Ayuk because he has been cooking. He continued to cook for T-Rock. He entered his lineup, ended up losing the week, right? But he did everything in his humanly power, T-Rock's infinite wisdom, to try to make sure he got into the finals, which I really do respect. Like, a lot of people turtle up and clam up, and they want to use hindsight, 2020. Oh, I shouldn't have done this or I shouldn't have done that, and look how this worked out for me. But I'm all for it, man. He was one win away, the best team in the league all year, putting up a monster week. Just so happened that he played against somebody who put up a bigger monster week. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way
we
goes sometimes.
We got a 6 seed out here, Lieberts. Mike, it's interesting because we normally like to, talk our little shit to T-Rock, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't quite feel as good when Bert's out here, getting to the title game as a 6 seed. Sorry, Bert.
It doesn't.
So I'll put it this way. He ended up after Ayuk. Now, Ayuk for 3 quarters, I believe, had 1 catch in 18 yards.
Yeah,
and despite all that, we got a quarterback switch, and all of a sudden, the guy's a lot. I guess he must have just been a lot more open on all those slants and goes.
Well, here's the crazy thing. Here's where it came down to, right? With the way scoring is in this league, T-Rock lost. Okay, an L's an L.
By 8 points.
But if you guys remember the last play of that game, Darnold forces it over the middle into 5 people are standing there. Ayuk's one-on-one, would have been a 15-yard touchdown to Brandon Ayuk. He throws that one to Brandon Ayuk. T-Rock wins this. And all of a sudden, this trade looks like he's the savant genius, right? Ayuk was the beast to put him ahead and send him to the finals. So.
Yeah, that when he drew the pass interference, especially, because, Mike, I was in the same situation. If Brandon Ayuk touchdown in one of my leagues
he would have caught that one, right?
Yep. If Brandon Ayuk scores there, I would have also won one of my other matchups. But listen, when it comes down to the fantasy title, you're in a game where if a guy scores a touchdown or not, it makes the game. That's kind of how you want it to be. Obviously, you don't want to lose. But I would say this. I think this deal, Mike, is the reality of it to me is in best ball, as much as I do love Brandon Ayuk, I think I would slightly lean the combo of Nico and Achane because Achane, I will put it like this. He was a disappointment for you in the fantasy playoffs so far. He was not been a reason that you're alive still if you are. He's more of the opposite. He's not made my lineup in all of my leagues and a lot of places where you're like, man, I couldn't get me 12 or something in the playoffs here when he's finally playing. He hasn't done anything for you. But that home run hitting ability is still there. I don't project next year that he's not going to have a chance to have a bigger role and a bigger impact on fantasy lineups. So that side already for me, and then you give me the Tua over Baker thing long term. I like it. I will say in best ball, though, I'm starting to get a little more I think this offseason especially, I'm going to be a little more comfortable in situations where I'm getting a guy I feel good about for at least a season. And
like Baker.
Yes, and that's where, man, it seems so gross to go from Tua to Baker, and I'm not telling you in dynasty value it isn't, but in a best ball format, Mike, I'm probably just looking to get 4 type starters in most of my leagues, right? If Baker's one of them, I'm more than comfortable with that, honestly. I don't need to have a bunch of goons. And if you look at it through and through, a lot of the teams, if they had 2 goons versus 4 really solid built quarterbacks, solid quarterback room, more often than not in best ball, you're going to see, especially this year with the quarterback scoring the way it's been, those 4 pieces are beating the 2 anyway. So,
yeah.
I'd say for T-Rock, this deal is one of those where you're trying to go win this matchup, and it's important to do it now. So you wouldn't make this if it wasn't for that. But I don't think, like, all things considered, if you make a trade like that, this is the worst that you could do. I mean, you can make value like this back up later on. I just think, obviously, this was an attempt to go win the game to get to the title, which you were trying for so hard all along.
I respect it a lot, too.
All right.
I would do the same thing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me I'm within striking distance and somebody out there has a dynasty value and a guy that could actually have a chance to win me that matchup, hey, what do we got to do, buddy? Let's talk.
Know how many times I tried to trade for CMC right before that game?
Oh, yeah.
These best ball leagues, like, hey, you don't need him.
Yep.
Come on, bud.
Okay. Let's discuss this one here, Mike. So, Mr. Wonderful, from Mike Baum, not to be confused with our Mike,
No.
is acquiring Patrick Mahomes. He is sending away Justin Herbert, a 26 first and a 26 second. Mike, we don't have to get too much into everything, but on the struggles of Mr. Patrick Mahomes in this Chiefs offense of late, what do you think of this deal right now? Obviously, one is healthy, one is not. But
so the lineup start 10. Those picks are, multiple years out. They hold some value, and I'm all for, like, snatching them up when people don't value them. But the fact is, like, they're not, like, a huge piece. You know what I mean? If this was a best ball league, I'd probably just be on the Herbert to the first and the second side. But for Mr. Wonderful, he was competing, right? He's in the semis. Needs a quarterback. You got to do what you got to do. One guy ain't playing, right? And you go, well, the price is, a couple picks 2 years out. Fine. I don't really like trading them. Like, I don't like giving up all my stuff. But if I got to do what I got to do in the playoffs, I'm all for this, right? I'll go get Patrick Mahomes. And this was made before, this last week's game where we were like, oh, we're going to really have a hard conversation about Patrick Mahomes in the dynasty landscape right now, aren't we? Like, we're going to have to say some things that aren't going to feel very comfortable. So I'm all for it, right?
Yeah.
I think even without the context of being in the playoffs, right?
That's what I was just going to say.
In 2 weeks,
yep.
I probably still want the Mahomes side in the line to start 10.
Yep. It's funny you went there because that's exactly what I was going to pivot to, and that's. I'll put it like this: you put a great point out there that we probably have to have some serious discussions on Mahomes, and I like the reality is this team is absolutely reeling on offense right now, and it's a division game. Pierce, I think, has really done a tremendous job getting his team ready to play, and seems to be a guy that players just rally around and buy into. So all that stuff said, though, it has not just been the Raiders game that Mahomes has had these type of performances, and the offense does not have weapons outside of Kelsey, and Kelsey right now hasn't looked like Kelsey of old, and that part combined with all the weapons, I think, is probably the most concerning, is Kelsey's also getting up there in age. So it's like, all right, last year you lost Hill. This year, Kelsey's kind of got the Swift thing going on. It feels like it's, kind of caught up with him. All of a sudden he messed up his entire future by getting Taylor Swift involved. But at the same time, Mike, I've seen this guy for too long be still one of the greatest throwers of the football. He's still making plays that are there that are not happening because of his offensive weapons. And I don't project in Dynasty that those weapons are going to be the rest of his, future. So I still want the Mahomes side in the Dynasty League, I think, because the picks are so far out. Typically, if this is 24 class, I don't really like to consolidate, even in a lineup start 10 from an elite quarterback to an elite quarterback, the way I would kind of view it, right? But given the context especially, I don't mind this at all, man. You tell me you need a quarterback, you get to stay in the high tier, you go to the arguable top 3 dynasty, top 4 dynasty quarterback, even if we take him down a notch. I'll send away my 26 first and second if I have to do that in a league like this. I'm imagining he didn't help him win this game. I don't know if he ended up winning or not, but I would make that trade pretty comfortably, I think, Mike.
Yeah, I'm with you. With the context in it, it's Definitely.
Let me ask you this then real quick. On the flip side of that, would you take on, if you were in a situation where you're not in the playoffs, would you take on Herbert in those 2 picks? Or would you ask for something different?
I probably would have seen if I could have been, a bigger pain in the ass, right? And asked for more, but
That's a good way to put it. I agree with that point you just made. I would have tried to been a bigger pain in the ass.
yep.
Okay. Here's a Savage on Savage crime. We got Plank Crew getting Terry McLaurin and Kyren Williams, and Drew Smitty is getting Curtis Samuel and Breece Hall. Interesting as we grade this with hindsight, because Breece Hall had himself a absolute monster day. Mike, one of my most points for in the league. Teams that didn't earn a bye, that just lost this last week, definitely got Breece Hall. It got Puka, it got all kinds of stuff. But Breece Hall had a whale of a game. 12 catches, I believe it was, which is just, my God, that might be more catches than Garrett Wilson's had in a game this year.
I think you might be right.
So, I don't know with the context of this if, like, Dynasty Alex was trying to go win. He's getting Terry and Kyren, thinking it's going to be better, but then Breece pops off. Hindsight is what it is. But what do you think of the deal here, these 2 for 2?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why you make this deal, right? Maybe if it was last week, right? Like the whole like, hey, I'm trying to go win. You know what I mean? Like I need to win my quarterfinal matchup. Breece Hall had a negative matchup, right, schedule-wise. But like you make this one heading into this week when he plays the 32nd ranked defense in the league, and this Breece fucking Hall. I get it, Kyron's been really awesome, but 1 for 1, that's easy. And the other 2 guys play on the same team. One of them's a pretty relevant wide receiver, or has been a pretty relevant wide receiver. The other one has had some moments.
Well, yeah. So,
I don't know what the fuck this is.
I'll tell you what's interesting about this, though, when you read the context, is it's 12-team PPR, Superflex lineup. We're starting 11. Okay, so 3 wide receiver starters. Now, this is shit lineup. So, imagining some shit guys decided to, go get a lineup league put together. Here's the crazy part about the context, though, Mike. These teams are both in the semis.
Great move by Drew Smitty then, man. Like, oh yeah, I'll give you Kyren.
I mean, hindsight, like, I can understand for Dynasty Alex, you're like, all right, I personally would say this. I want Breece Hall over Kyren Williams in Dynasty. I don't think shouldn't be hot takey, honestly. I know that Kyren's situation is, he's playing for McVay, but Breece still too talented. Now, if you're telling me you're going to get Terry, who you feel like you can start and line up start 11 versus Curtis Samuel, like I like him in best ball, but that's about it. You're never going to. So if you're going to get that 2 for 1 in a lineup start 11, I can understand the process. But man, I'd be curious to see if this trade affected these 2. It sounds like they're both in the semis, not necessarily playing each other. So are these 2 playing each other now, or? I would just love to know the hindsight of how this shook out, because if you traded away Breece for these 2 guys, Terry put up a dud, right? I mean, like 3 catches for 50, and Kyren's been great all year, right? But Breece outscored both of them, right? And you get to put him in one spot. So I'd be curious to see what happened in this hindsight.
In the lineup league, Breece Hall won you a week almost by himself.
Shit, man. Breece Hall made it hard for you to lose in best ball. I mean, he went bananas.
Went him. Yeah, this one was pretty easy. Drew Smitty for me. I don't understand the other side, I guess. I'd have to get. I
get it. For me personally, I would want a receiver north of McLaurin. And it also felt like you got the McLaurin side probably right off of I think that was his best game of the year. Coming in.
And all that came in the last 5-6 minutes of that game when Jacoby got put in because he hadn't done anything up to that point.
And what have we found out, unfortunately, about poor Terry again?
Right.
Need another quarterback. Damn it. Poor guy.
Needs another coach for sure.
Just another Ohio State guy that needs a QB out there, man. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin.
Hey,
JSN, maybe another Ohio State guy that's looking for a QB.
could be.
All right, Waddling Tuna, Mike. Waddling Tuna gets Jamar Chase, sends away JSN, and the 24 first of Jared Miller, and second, consequently going back to Jared Miller. So, my question to you here, Mike, is how much does where this pick lands matter for you in a deal of this magnitude?
Quite a bit.
I would agree. So now, just to give you context too, it's 12-team Superflex, full PPR, half-point tight end premium, start 11, 0.25 for a first down.
Yep. And the pick's going to be 107 or 108.
So that said, where you at?
Man, I still really do love JSN, man. He's had some real good moments here at the end, even without, like you said, great quarterback play.
Yeah.
Though maybe Drew Lock is the answer. I don't know. Chase is awesome, though. So awesome. It is a lineup league. If this was best ball, I'm smashing the JSN, the first and the second side. No question about it. Lineup league, probably still going to go with Jamar Chase, as much as I love JSN. You just go for the stud wide receiver and you ride it out. But, damn, there's a scenario where that JSN and that 107 is pretty damn appealing at him. Could be QB3 of this class. Potentially, that's probably an outside shot. But you're also looking at Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman,
Yep.
QB4 of this class if they got pretty good draft capital. Maybe a Brock Bowers in some of these tight end premium leagues might fall that far. Kind of just depending on where the community's at with them. It's going to be a good pick. And the second round is loaded with just like lawn dart awesome. Happy to throw a lawn dart at a 208 at some of these prospects. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll be very excited to make my selections in the second round. So there's a lot on that JSN side that I like. I think we're going to do the smart play, though, and we're going to go with Mr. Jamar Chase.
Yep. Now, I like the way you broke all that down. I don't know if it's because we're not drinking or what, but we're really, really locked in on these here. Because I like 107, 108 quite a bit, honestly, in this class, Mike. Really do. Like, last year and this year, I think for me anyway, we'll see where it shakes out after the draft. But we do all our drafts pre-draft anyway. I'm really liking the early like if I made the playoffs and did get knocked out in round one.
Right.
I hate that, but I don't mind having that 107, 108 if I still do have my pick now. Here's the thing. I want to acquire that, and I want to acquire the 208. But what I'm looking at here in a lineup start 11, man, how I want to get the 108 is not via Jamar Chase. Right?
Right.
That's the reality of this one for me. It's not. I'd rather go ahead and try to get that in a lot of other multitude of ways. Like, because here's the thing. Let's say you end up kind of hitting on that. Like, you get a Rome, you get your boy Keon Coleman, whoever ends up being there, right? I'm gonna just go with receiver for now because not that you couldn't get a quarterback in that range. It's possible, but I think just the more likely discussion of it is a wide receiver. And if that's the case, even then, they both got to get up pretty high for me, not just in the dynasty value, but in the points per game discussion to really make me think, okay, I'd rather have that pairing than I would Jamar Chase. And the second now does make me, start to push it a little over the top as far as dynasty value go. But when you go to start 11, Jamar Chase just is one of those assets where you're going to have to come pay me north of that. And personally, for me, he's just so highly valued. He's going to probably be a first round pick again next year in dynasty startups and Superflex, man.
The most interesting part is maybe that receiver you're drafting at that spot is Jamar Chase's teammate replacing T. Higgins.
The T. Higgins replacement. Yeah, absolutely. The next Joe Burrow target, right?
Right.
That would be crazy. I think this is pretty savvy, honestly, in my opinion, to go get Jamar Chase. I also, too, Mike, timing of this, if you're in the playoffs and you were able to do this to lock up Jamar Chase for the playoff run, I think that's another little added benefit of making that move at this time. So I'm going to go with the Waddle and Tuna side there. What's that?
What do you mean lock him up for the...
Like as much as I like JSN, I'd rather be starting Jamar Chase in the playoffs.
Oh, he's out.
Oh, he's out of the playoffs? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he knocked out of the first round. Got it. I didn't see that part of the Discord. Well.
No. Jamar Chase is out of the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, duh. I'm tripping.
He's hurt, man.
He hurt that shoulder. He hurt that shoulder, buddy.
Chase. Yeah.
I was hoping he could play next week, but he ain't. That's right. He's out.
If you're on the other side, though, of that deal, and you were in the playoffs, semis, Chase is down, you pivot into JSN in the first and the second. I think I would. I think I tried a few times.
I think if I felt like that gave me a chance to win, yeah, I would. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yep. All right. Jacoby Myers in a 24 third or Aaron Jones is the deal here. Christian making this deal, and we have what do we got here?
Let him go.
12 team Superflex PPR lineup, start 11. We got the lineup show going on here today, Mike. Start 10, half PPR or half point tight end premium. So context, eliminated from the playoffs, trying to get any value I can for aging vets.
Yeah, I'll send away Aaron Jones and get back a third dart throw and a receiver, who just signed a good contract this year. We'll see what Jacoby Myers. Man, he looked good at the beginning of the year. Looked like a stud at the beginning of the year with Jimmy G. Now here at the end of the year, ain't nobody in that passing offense looks good. Not a single one of them.
No,
other than 2 weeks ago when they played the Chargers, just to get Brandon Staley fired. Everybody looked good.
Well,
now nobody looks good again. I
was gonna say, man, this last game, shouldn't even want to throw the ball. I mean, just run. Zamir White show, baby. Zamir White show. By the way, I'm telling you, Mike, what's crazy in some of these best ball losses I had is having like the right dart throws hit and still lose. Like Zamir White, RB2 for my team. Like, let's go. Like all those later picks you kind of been hitting on or, waiver wire guys to still lose. Like, how? Zamir White actually having a fucking week? Still losing this damn game. I personally, Mike, I want the Jacoby Myers side here. Aaron Jones, I'd put it like this. The Jacoby Myers value is also probably going to trend down, just the way that assets go in the offseason. But I know for sure Aaron Jones is going to become an anchor, like a dead weight that kind of just goes down into the ocean. You're just stuck with it until the season starts. And Aaron Jones for me, like this year's kind of gotten a little scary. The injuries, the lack of points per game meaningfulness, I guess.
Right.
I'm not going to say that he's dead next year, but I feel like his dynasty value is. So I'm probably just going to move on.
If there was a year for Aaron Jones to like smash it out of the park and remind us all, like, yeah, he's amazing.
That guy.
Wouldn't it be this year? Right.
It would have been. That's what I would have thought.
Quarterback. They got a ton of weapons, but they're all really young and inexperienced. Like, you thought they would have relied pretty heavily on him. Even then, man, like this last game, I was kind of excited about him coming. Like, I was like, all right, fantasy playoffs, Aaron Jones, smash spot. And then, like, fuck, Patrick Taylor's getting run. Like, this is disgusting. Why is Patrick Taylor in here at all? This is horrible. This is egregious. So I'm good with getting off Aaron Jones. Adam, if I was in the playoffs, leading up to this week, hindsight's 20/20, but
and
it's a lineup start 10.
Yeah.
I'll trade a third. I'll trade my third and Jacoby Myers because there's no way in fuck I would start Jacoby Myers in the semifinals. Like in the start 10? No.
Yeah. I think that's probably though I was going to get to that is so the Jacoby Myers pivot is better. I think in the long run for dynasty value, but the reality is I think even for a guy like Jacoby Myers who you and I have defended for a while and I still was like willing to purchase earlier in the year, he's probably one of those guys I would want in my roster construction at the back end, but I don't really probably feel the greatest starting him week in and week out in a lineup start 10. So if I have to pivot off of that to go when I know he's healthy, even though Patrick Taylor's there, he's going to be the primary back last week. Obviously, hindsight 20/20, he had a great week, but I don't mind that at all. Those are the type of pivots I'll make in the playoffs if I trade deadlines off pretty easy in a lineup league.
This is exactly why I love no trade deadlines, Adam. We're going through all these trades, and you can literally see it for each side, except for that Breece Hall trade. That Breece Hall trade was trash.
Yeah.
But people always think you're going to have this massive imbalance of trades. Well, you can make it work for you as a rebuilder. Like, you get to go into it, and I'm all for if you're a contender trying to make that push for that championship to get into that final round. So I love no trade deadlines for a damn reason, buddy.
Yeah,
this is why.
Yeah, I prefer to have it off. I think the other thing too about that is, if you got a bad trade, let's say in the playoffs, everyone's like, "Oh man, I'd hate for a league to get swung on that stuff." I view it kind of like Mike in football, where okay, yes, a play was made at the end of the game or not made at the end of the game, but that wasn't the whole game. Like, someone could make a trade like that in week 8, and that be part of the reason that somebody wins a league, right? So, I don't understand. I have a harder and harder time, honestly, the more I discuss it with people and talk about it, like seeing the opposite side of it, where it's like we should have this thing off. I really personally struggle with it, because if you've done all the stuff that you've wanted to get into the spot of the playoffs now, why in the moment of the most critical timing are we saying now we want to take away your options to trade? Right. Dynasty as a whole is a trading arena. Everybody that is in Dynasty should know you're wanting to trade over and over and over again. So now you're taking away one of the biggest, most essential parts of this entire format in the most crucial time. I struggle with it, really do.
I get it in redraft. I don't get it in Dynasty. So.
Well, yeah. What's the point of trading? If in redraft you're trading, I mean, no one's getting anything for next year. Like, you start over, right?
Right.
Yeah. Even in keepers, I can kind of understand it, because, you don't want something too lopsided happening, because who's keeping what's a lot different. In Dynasty, we're playing round the clock anyway. So, all right, Mike. Schumer, Tua, Raheem Mostert, Nick Chubb. Interesting. The Nick Chubb part. Justin Herbert and Cole Kmet is what M. Flynn is getting. So, Mike, this is a lineup start 10, half PPR, half point tight end premium, 4-point per passing touchdown. He's in the semis and was rocking Fields and Stick. Now, obviously, rocking Tua and Fields.
Let me just leave the Nick Chubb part out, because I'll get to that in a second. But, if I'm in the semis, getting Tua for Herbert, smash, easy for me. Cole Kmet for Raheem Mostert. Half point, tight end premium. Cole Kmet's been playing really, really well. Really, really well. Probably putting up points. But Raheem Mostert, they just feed him touchdowns at this point, right? Like, they do everything in their power to make sure Raheem Mostert scores at least 2 touchdowns every single game, it feels like. So I'm probably just going to rock Mostert there, too, if I'm in the semis. I don't understand the Chubb part. If I'm in Flynn, why am I giving up Nick Chubb? Like, why am I tossing it in? If I'm Schumer, why the hell am I getting this part back? Like, I don't... It's so weird, all right? Like, I get it. Basically, it's free, right, for Schumer. So, like, you can't knock him too much. But still, even then, like, if this was the offer that came back to me, I'd be like, all right, let me take Chubb out. Can I get all your fab? Can I get all your fab for, in case I do win this week? All of a sudden, I got that hammer where I can drop it in the championship week and not have to worry about it. I don't want your fucking Nick Chubb, buddy. Keep him.
I guess in this is one of those things too, like format dependent for me, is where I don't really care that much about Nick Chubb. Like, that's gonna sound whatever. I obviously I love the player, want him to do well next year. I understand grabbing him for free, but in this format, Mike, there's a very good chance, like right now, what we know going into the wire, I don't think there's anybody out there that I'm going to lock in as a start 10 player next week, right? In best ball, there's no way in the world I'm taking on Nick Chubb, because he's holding one of them spots I want to go north, and he's also, I could get the value to put somewhere else in another player. Lineup start 10, I wouldn't really advocate for doing it, but that's not going to hurt you much. You just park him on one of the bottom spots of your bench you don't care about. I just think if I'm going to pivot off of a dynasty asset like Herbert in an attempt to go win, I'd rather get something that might have a chance in my lineup versus Nick Chubb, I guess would be the argument for me. So to your point, Mostert and Tua I'm locking in. Nick Chubb is a hope down the road type thing. I'll say too, Mike, A-Warp Life, I'm comfortable getting off the commit. It's one of those, I'm cool, right? So I get the pivot here. Mostert didn't have the greatest of games. He did score a touchdown to salvage it, and Tua's been okay. I'm willing to do the Schumer side here to go win one if I had Herbert and was still able to pivot off of him. So I'll take it. I don't know. To your point, if Nick Chubb is free, fine. I'd rather see that be someone I could actually play this year if I had to, is I guess the way I'd view it.
Something. Yeah. Something useful for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just weird to be in there.
I get it. I'm with you. Okay, Mr. Wonderful Mike. Ooh. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson in the 107 versus a 25 first from Mr. Wonderful and the 101 pick. Wow.
This is pretty easy for me. Caleb or Drake or whoever your 101 Marv, they're awesome. They're absolutely awesome. And if you told me it was I was just getting either Gibbs or Bijan and your 107 for my 101, most leagues we're just going to go ahead and take it. Best ball leagues, I'm definitely taking it. No question about it. And then you tell me I could trade my 25 first when I'm coming out of a rebuild and planning on competing next year for the other one. Just straight up, 1 for 1. I know running backs are dead, but these are 2 running backs who are not dead. I'm not dead.
Well,
not dead, Adam. This is fucking slam dunk home run. And I got no real explanation for the other side. I guess maybe if you were super quarterback desperate, I don't know.
Yeah, so this one here, what's interesting about it is, like, number one, this is why having a 101 pick is so incredibly important, right? What you can do with it. Now, if you're telling me this is a lineup start 10 league or lineup start 9 league, you're overpaying for that 101, I think. But I can understand saying, like, I think I can replace running back position and not have to have 2 of the 2 highest dynasty value players in the running back market to go, and I want to secure Caleb or whatever. Like, this is in best ball though. Like, if anything, this last year in best ball, if you haven't already played or thought about this, if you haven't learned it throughout the year, like Patrick Mahomes. Let's think about Patrick Mahomes for a second. What you're talking about is a guy that you're going to put 3 humongous eggs into one. Really. I mean, you are getting the 25 first, so I shouldn't say that. But for next year's purposes, like, you're probably looking at one big egg between these 3 guys, where in best ball, the running backs are huge in scoring and winning you leagues. Like Raheem Mostert, we just saw in that last trade, help teams get in the playoffs and probably even not playing the best, continue to push forward in the playoffs. You get the 2 best dynasty assets at running back. I keep saying dynasty because CMC, until he is dead, is not anywhere out of the discussion, right? But just long term. Plus the 107 is another very good opportunity. God forbid, Mike, God forbid you got a quarterback like you were talking about earlier with that 107. Imagine tearing down from Caleb to Daniels, or I don't even care who it was, a first-round quarterback plus these 2 running backs. Good night. Mm-hmm. Good night. Easily. Best ball, this is not even close for me, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Lineup, I think you could still probably make the case for the top side. I could understand the overpay for roster construction purposes. That's really all I can say about it for lineup. So this is Mr. Wonderful, pretty easy, man. Straight up.
Yep.
And last trade of the day. Okay, Mike. Grievo and Shockwave. CJ Stroud in a second or Lamar Jackson in a third?
Again, no trade deadlines are a thing of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
This is why. Good for Shockwave. I think a lot of people are going to have CJ Stroud above Lamar. Now we'll kind of see. Lamar is making this MVP push and, playing in national. The hype is going to build, and, CJ Stroud, we haven't seen him for a couple weeks now because of this concussion. Before that, not a great game, right? So rookie struggles. It is what it is. But I think Stroud is amazing, and I think he's at least in the conversation with Lamar. So, in the same tier, give or take. Whether he's above him, below him, doesn't really matter. So in a vacuum, you're going to take the second over the third pretty handily in a best ball league. Like, that's an easy layup, pivot, down tier. But if I'm competing too and I got CJ Stroud and he's not playing this week, I'm in the semis, shit, I send him away for Lamar Jackson pretty easily, and you can have the second. If I get a third back, even better. Like, awesome. I cushioned my blow a little bit and worked out for Grievebow. Won his semifinal matchup, so he's moving on to the championship. So, smart, heady play for both of them. And I'm sure Shockwave doesn't care, because if he really values, Stroud and Lamar pretty similarly, he got the second versus the third. He's not competing, so he don't care. He's out of the playoffs. He got the better assets.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to actually look at it from a average in one of my league standpoints. Just quickly to see. The one thing that I do understand, at least even in the long term, like pivoting from the second to the third, that 0.2 points per carry. Now, with Monken, it hasn't been this Lamar guy that was running a lot more, right? Mm-hmm. I still watch them play and think to myself, as much as Monken has done a good job in ways, he doesn't run like he used to. So kind of going back and forth here, but the 0.2 points per carry makes me want to lean Lamar there. And you're getting the healthy asset. So on that pivot, in a chance to go get a title, I could care less. I would have let you keep that third, frankly. Like, if I had to do this in a situation to try to go win. So, I will say I like this part too. This is where, and as a whole, I don't care too much, even as portfolio grows and all that, about diversifying necessarily. But if I do have 3 Lamar and no Stroud, that's a perfect opportunity, in my opinion, to go ahead and take that CJ Stroud side, because I get the better pick asset. I am still diversifying. I get 1 Stroud here. I actually like this quite a bit for both sides. I would say if I'm Shockwave, like, I'll definitely take CJ here in this, but I would have seen if I could grease him a little more. Like, here, dude, you're going to go have a chance to win right now, and you get an asset that's arguably going to be in the same tier as this guy. Why am I kicking you back this third? It just, done something like that.
I always love it. We could have the debate too, whether it's prudent to do it or not prudent to do it, as far as the portfolio aspect, like diversifying, Adam. I know we've talked about this, and it's just it's always weird to me, not for other people, because maybe it's smart for them, maybe that's what I mean, like the debate we could have, maybe it's smart or prudent to do. But I've never once, I don't think, ever made a trade where I've gone and I've been like, how many shares of this guy do I already have? Like, if it's a good deal to me, I just take it. I don't give a shit.
Sure.
Listen, I could have only 1 Lamar share, right? And somebody comes to me out of the playoffs. I'm out of the playoffs, and they offer me, CJ Stroud, who I may have 40 in every league, or 39. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going ahead, and I'm going to do this. The portfolio thing never comes into my play, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's just a weird process that I never, ever implement, ever. I don't go to Sleepier and check how many CJ Stroud or Lamar Jackson shares I have.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Now, if you had none, I think you would probably know, like, damn, you wouldn't say, all right, I have 2 or 4. If you don't have a single CJ Stroud share, which I know that's probably not true for you because you play in so many damn leagues, but if you didn't, you might be like, all right, I kind of like this because I don't have any of him. Wish I would have drafted him or something. It's not I would say right or wrong to your point. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I if this is a portfolio move for you, like I think it's an easy tiebreaker to say, yeah, why not take this other side, because I get to get a CJ Stroud. I think on the surface, the deal's fine. So I'll take the shot at going ahead and
the crazy thing too. You talked about that points per carry, like how that also factors in. This is also why I love Warp, because people throw it and they'd be like, oh yeah, clearly Lamar, you want the guy who's going to run the ball. CJ Stroud's still beating him in Warp for this league, exact settings. So Warp per game, as far as you're looking at it. So
yeah, and that's why I hadn't looked at the Warp yet. I know they just updated it too.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you look at it, you go, oh man, Stroud don't run that much. Lamar definitely runs at least a lot more than Stroud does.
Yep.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does. It just depends on the league. Like, I know I pulled up Warp in a league that I have 0.2 points per carry, where he's ahead of CJ. But there's other things involved in this league. So, for example, it's 20 yards. the big play bonuses,
Yeah.
0.1 points per completion. Every 20 yards, you get a point passing as opposed to 25. So all those things are going to be factored in to the warp tool, which is why if you don't know in your league specifically, you should go get the warp tool. SouthHarmonFF.com/warp, because I know in the league that I have a 0.2 points per carry on quarterbacks, Mike, that one, Lamar is still ahead of CJ Stroud, but to this league specifically, it's not that way.
Here's the best part that I love about Warp and with this league specifically, right? Just so people are aware. Adam, you're going to go and you're going to look at all these Warp graphs, right? And you're going to look at them in the offseason, and we'll probably discuss them ad nauseum for league after league after league. And a common theme is going to be the quarterbacks were bad this year for the most part, right? Like the quarterbacks, like, damn, man, like wide receivers in a lot of these leagues are better in Warp. You know, running backs in these point per carry leagues are better than quarterbacks. It was a terrible year as a whole for quarterbacks.
Yep.
You go look at this league, Adam, the quarterbacks are by far and away the best pieces in this league because of all these scoring settings. And then that tells you what happens if you regress to the mean of how quarterbacks had been producing in fantasy over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Holy Santa Claus shit. Like, taking the lawn darts at those studs, like getting them at all costs. The CJ Strouds of the world, the Lamars, the Herberts, the Mahomes, the Burrows, like these dudes means everything in that league.
Oh, big
So
time.
you're gonna want to be right back there. I can definitely tell there's probably gonna be 1 or 2 people in a league like this or a format, or maybe in this league, who would go, oh, I remember when Nick Mullins and Case Keenum and like Joe Flacco, these kind of guys got me by in 2023. And that's how they're going to roster construct, and they're going to be sorely disappointed whenever it goes back to, Patrick Mahomes is putting up 60 a game. This type of league, just crushing everybody.
Yeah, I think one thing, especially in a best ball league, Mike. Now, I would much prefer this 24 versus 25, but in best ball, if I'm staying in the what I consider to be the elite tier quarterbacks and getting a better asset as the plus, just process play. That's a best ball move, right? You just I'm staying in the guys that have the chance to score this. Now, Mike, I don't know if you still have it pulled up. I think this is a great highlight of the warp tool, actually, because you just brought up that point. So I could talk and think about stuff in a points per game lens, 1 or 2, in my league that I have a 0.2 points per carry for the quarterback when I think about quarterbacks, right? So by the way, I have in more than one league that has 0.2 points per carry. I'm in all kinds of these, but I just think about that. And if I don't know the specifics of the league and I don't use the warp tool, I might be like, all right, I'd rather have Lamar. Now, you just highlighted that in warp, CJ Stroud is ahead. So in that league, I don't know if you still have it up. Where is he versus Lamar in this format?
4 to 6.
Okay, 4 to 6. So Lamar is 6 and he's 4. Interestingly enough, right? So if you change the settings, if you tweak them a little bit, so this one, it would be the standard 25 passing is a point versus 20 yards passing is a point. And then you don't get the 0.1 per completion and per first down. Lamar is 4 and clearly in the way ahead of 2 warp, right? You go down to 10 where CJ Stroud is in this format, Mike, 1.774 versus 2.33. Like, point I'm making is your league specific settings. Not saying that you should value these guys drastically different, but your league-specific settings in Warp change it from 4 to 10 with a pretty big gap between the two to flip-flopping it. And that's why I think Warp is such a big deal for us in the formats we play in, Mike, whether that's how many roster spots you have, how many starters you guys have, or, how I'm going to value specifically position versus position. This tool has yet to let me down, man, as far as that goes, except for all the teams that I lost in, because I only have 1 left in Dynasty values, right?
I'm sure we'll have discussions, too, like why those teams lost, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Things. I know for me, going into this championship week, I got 12 what did they say, bullets still in the gun, right? 12 bullets, 12 out of 40 Dynasty teams.
Yeah, you had 19 playing and 12 won, right?
Which, if you told me at the beginning of the season, hey, 30% of your Dynasty teams are going to make it to the championship game, and place in money. Now, some of these will win championships, some of them will finish second, obviously. But I'd be thrilled. Yep. But, Adam, the 7 teams that failed in the semis are the ones that just eat at me and going to evaluate why. And sometimes shit just happens. Variance happens, bad luck, bad play.
I think we can. I think what I'm excited to highlight, too, is that we'll see. We'll actually have the numbers here after the 23 season concludes. We already probably have it soon for the semi games, right? But the variance in best ball, incredibly high, as we have kind of seen.
For normies.
Right. Well, I mean, Mike, I'd put it like this. I think the thing you're highlighting here is what you should be highlighting is your prowess to beat the odds versus trying to say that in best ball the variance does not exist, because I think it's really the opposite. You should be highlighting the fact that you are killing the odds the last couple of years, right? By the process that you're implementing versus the reality is in best ball leagues, if everybody roster constructs close together, all that gives you is everyone has 30 clips in the chamber. It's going to make the variance crazy wide, right?
Yeah. I think it's more like we need to look at fantasy football as a whole, more like a 7-card, Texas Hold'em game. Then, a lot of people are like, oh, it's all luck. No, that would be like slots. Okay. This is more like Texas Hold'em, where, yes, you do need some luck. You need a good set of cards, but it is also about playing, the person across from you, or playing each hand and all the strategies that go into it. But maybe that's what the thumbnail is today, for this this one. A little Texas Hold'em. Can we get a little CJ Stroud, maybe a little Lamar Jackson? Texas Hold'em?
I think actually, I was going to say, Mike, I personally think I saw Lamar in there twice, was it?
Let's get a little more Action Jackson.
Yeah, I think so, especially with there's going to be a push, I think, right now, especially after what just happened with the Purdy death of the MVP race. Lamar versus Tua, I think it feels pretty strong. It's going to be one of those guys. Let's get maybe Lamar on there.
Yeah, I like that one. Ooh, let's do it. Action Jackson.
He didn't play like, what's amazing about Lamar real quick? He didn't play lights out, but Mike, the guy has constantly been solid this year at minimum.
Yes.
And I think he's very non-traditional. You can look in the watch, like in these intermediate short routes, and I wish he threw with more touch and this and that. But Mike, there was a specific play later in the game that I think people don't really, it's hard to quantify. So he scrambles out right. And because of his rushing ability, you see linebackers start to converge on him going like that, and he throws across his body in the middle of the field to a guy that doesn't have very good pass-catching prowess in Gus Edwards, who takes that ball almost to the house. And his ability to run and the different ways that he kind of stretches the defense to look at him as a non-traditional player opens so much more up than I think just the typical pocket passer does. And it's hard to highlight and really quantify, but that's just one of those plays that just, I think, shows how hard it is to really account for Lamar in football.
He's good, man. Put him on the thumbnail.
Put him on the thumbnail. That's a show. That's a wrap. Good luck to everybody in their Dynasty Championship games this week. We will see you back here, same time, same place, next week for the Dynasty Trade Show, and the season will be over. So we're going into 2024.
Off-season trades.
Off-season trades. We're out of this thing. Peace.